What's up, everybody? How's it going? Is it just me or is my frame rate low? Yeah, maybe just me. Anyways, how's everybody doing today? It's Friday. It means with the weekend's coming up. So, although I don't know if I'll work this weekend. Maybe. We'll see. I gotta finish up working on a bathroom out in our shop. So, gotta head over to the Menards. Yeah, so what do I got? I don't have anything too much new for you guys. I don't think I really have anything new. I will plug my own little side project really quick because there has been quite a bit of traction on there. It's my little maker forum. It's makerforum.tech is the website. And one of the guys on there posted this, and I'm excited. I'm going to be putting this on my Ender 6 soon. This is a mount that uses the Pet's Fang duct. I literally just pulled this off the printer, printed on the Ender 6. Was going to print it in ABS, but my belt on my ABS machine, the one in the enclosure, not the Ender 5, is completely just worn out on my Y, so I got to change that, which is why I have belt sitting here. But this is a 5015 fan duct mount for an Ender 6 with an Easy ABL probe mount. So I'm going to be putting this on the printer and giving that a go. Maker Mike is who posted that. So if you guys are looking, like I had talked about making a site to share slicer profiles, this is going to be the site. So if you guys want to share your slicer profiles or ask for slicer profiles, make sure you check that out. This is just a little project for myself. It's not, TH3D. I just miss forums, and we have the options to share files on there too. So it's right now on a server. I got about, I think, 80 gigs of space on the VPS that we're using. So plenty of space. And if it ends up becoming more popular, I might end up moving towards moving it toward my server here because it's not that much bandwidth. And plus, if we're doing caching with Cloudflare, which we are, shouldn't be too much traffic. But right now, we've got, how many people we got signed up on here? 231 users, so make sure you guys check that out. But I posted a link in the chat here to the Ender 6 5015 Easy ABL mount. I'm going to be fitting that to mine. After this stream, I will fire up another stream on here for a little side project here. I have my, I said I want to use the Easy Neo Strips for other things other than printers, and I'm going to be attaching these to some little 8266. These are the D1 mini styles. So I have a 12 volt step. I have a 12 volt adapter going into a step down. I have a million of these. Like I don't even remember where I got them from, but I got a bunch of these step down adapter boards. So I'm going from a 12 volt adapter. It's actually the Easy ABL adapter. The 12 volt one is 12 volt 1 amp, and I'm stepping this down to 5 volts. And I'm going to be driving the Easy Neo Strips from the D1 Mini and tying it into Home Assistant. So there will be a little 3-pin plug going from here to the D1 Mini for the signal, power, and the ground. And then I'm going to 3D print a little case to put this in. And then these are going to I'm going to attach these onto the bottoms of my center channel speaker and my front left and front right speaker downstairs in my little theater room. To have kind of like indirect lighting. So when the main lights get turned down, I'm going to have Home Assistant kick these on, and they'll obviously be RGB. So I'm going to do a little stream soldering all that up shortly after this stream. So I'll probably take about a half hour to an hour break and then come back, and it'll just be kind of a hangout. I was thinking about doing StreamYard, where I can actually post a link if someone else wants to come in. And then I'm also going to be using the Easy Neos as well to design a holder to put them in to clip on top of these picture frames I have. I got some movie posters that are some of my favorite movies and Samantha's favorite movies. And I'm going to have those, the Neopixels, aimed down at the frame, and then the same little D1 mini board mounted to the back of the frame to make... Can you not? To light up the picture. So, and that'll all be automated with Home Assistant. So, pretty cool stuff. That's the kind of stuff I like to do in my spare time is home automation. I love me some lighting, and I might as well use these. I got them. and I like that they're the hard PCB, so I'll probably stick some either, I don't know, I don't really like drilling into my speakers. I could use the holes here and just put some little screws into it. They aren't anything fancy. There's some Polk speakers I've had for a while, but I might just take some VHB tape and put some on the end here and stick it to the bottom of the speaker. So, but I've got about 6 inches below my center channel, and the feet raise the left and right about 2 inches. So I should be able to get a nice glow underneath them and just kind of give it a nice little, like, ambiance. So let's see. I totally forgot to put my caffeine in here. I've not had any today. And doing these streams later in the day, I'm feeling more tired. I was up actually early today. Early for me is 7 a.m. I'm usually more of a night person, but I got up early today when the dogs had to go out. So the giveaway form is open. The Chiron stuff is shipping. So if you guys were getting the Chiron LCD conversion, that stuff is shipping now. We have them all pre-printed and ready to go. And I'm going to be doing a video showing, like, a live stream where you guys can ask me questions. We're going to put the Easy ABL on here. I can confirm that the solid bed mounts that we sell do not fit this printer because the bolts are actually M5s, and those solid bed mounts work with screw sizes of M3 to M4. So the solid bed mounts do not fit the Chiron bed. So I'll have to think about something else. So let's see. Let's get into the questions here. We do have the giveaway form open. Oh no, I'm yawning already. This is not good. I feel like such an old man. Oh, man. I might have to take a nap before I work on my LED projects. But let's see. Sean Collins looks like he's the first one with questions here. He said, his Ender 3 V2 is printing fine. The only problem is I'm getting on larger prints where the nozzle is catching the print. So typically, that, in my experience, it's usually caused by one or two things. One, could be caused by overcooling. If you have an aftermarket mount, the stock fan mount's not going to overcool. It moves okay amount of air. But if you have like a 50-15 on there, something beefier that pushes more air, if you overcool a print, especially if you're printing faster and high layers, it can cause the ends to curl up. If that's not it, if the nozzle's catching the print, it usually means that it's because your print is lifting from the bed. So those are the two most common issues of why your nozzle would catch the print. So the other one would be something more simple, which is that there's something mechanically off on the machine and it's just not moving correctly. So, you know, it's trying to tell it, let's say it told it to move up, you know, 0.2 for a layer, it only moved up like 0.18 or 0.1, then it could cause the nozzle to collide with the print. So, Size Back, he said he posted a question in Discord. He's got an issue with his printer. He's got an issue with the Dual Z. Oh yeah, he was messing with the Dual Z with the steppers. He like did a DIY type setup, if I recall correctly. So let's see what his looks like. I'm sharing this. All my crap is closed. This would not be related to your Dual Z. This looks like you need to up your retraction. You can see here, oh, I can't, I'm gonna have to zoom in with the browser. This is filament oozing out of your nozzle, and these are the nozzle travels. If you look here, it stacks up and you get kind of these like little wavy lines here. My Ender 3 is actually doing this right now, and I had to up the retraction, but still didn't go away. And I was talking to Sean, who's our print farm guy, about this, and he made a good point, and I did find something wrong with my couplers. The PTFE couplers, when they get loosened up and they wear out, which I'm not surprised mine are, they're over 2 years old, the tubing will start moving again, or if the coupler wore into the tubing just from the retractions, moving it back and forth over time. So what happens is, instead of it actually doing a retract, it's moving the tube and not actually pulling the filament back in the nozzle. So I would double check the physical fittings and your tubing. Make sure that the tubing isn't like chewed through, because over time, like your PTFE tube and your fittings, those are consumable items. They wear out. They're just going to wear out as you use the printer. You know, it's just how it is. One other thing would be try lowering your print temp. And if you have a whole other different roll of filament, preferably one that's from a different brand and is new, try switching it out, use the same settings, and see if the problem persists. Because I've also had rolls of filament that just were bad filament that gave me stringing and gave me a lot of oozing out of the nozzle. But because you have those like little stacks of where the nozzle travel was, that's more of a you're not retracting enough, and that could be either because of a slicer setting or something like, you know, I mentioned where the tubing is not actually holding and staying static. When you do a retract, instead of it pulling the filament out, it's actually just shifting the tube. So let's see here. Matt doesn't have a question, but he's make a statement. He said he upgraded his photon. He put a mono screen in a 60 or 70 watt UV array, and the quality is unreal now. Is that the original photon? I have an original photon. I mean, I'm blown away by the quality on the original photon. I don't have any of those new fancy newfangled mono screens, but I thought the print I was getting off of the you know, the standard ones that have been out for a while was phenomenal for the price. So, let's see here. Dominic is asking, I have both your Easy Flow and steel nozzles. What are your suggested use cases for choosing between them? Hands down, the Easy Flow. If you got the Easy Flow, just go with the Easy Flow, because the Easy Flow will do everything the steel will do, except it will conduct the heat a lot better. So the Easy Flows and the steel are both good choices for abrasive filaments. The problem with steel is it does not conduct heat as well as brass, so you have to run your filament a little hotter, which can make tuning it a little bit more of a pain. But the benefit of the steels is that they're cheaper. So, you know, there's a trade-off. Steel can handle abrasives. You don't pay too much, but they do not transfer heat as well, which can make tuning things a little bit harder. On the other hand, the Easy Flows, those are a copper-plated nozzle, so they'll also be great for abrasives, but the copper is actually more efficient than even the brass. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. The drawback is the Easy Flow nozzles are, you know, $15 because they're more expensive to make. It's a more expensive material, and they're better quality nozzle. You know, so you got steel's like your budget. I want to print abrasives, but I don't want to spend $15 on a nozzle. You know, steel nozzles like under $4. Easy Flow is $15. I have Easy Flows or brass in mine. I haven't used steel in a while since we started stocking the Easy Flows, just because the Easy Flow is like the all-arounder. I don't have to worry about what I'm running through it. I know it's just going to print. I'm not going to have to worry about it getting bored out. I'm not going to worry about changing my print temps because all I'm running steel. I got to bump my temperature up a little bit to compensate for that poorer heat transfer. There's a graph somewhere around there about the differences between the nozzles, but basically, like, steel's about 2 to 3 times less heat conductive or less efficient at transferring heat versus brass, and copper is 2 to 3 times more efficient. So that's why I really like the Easy Flows. They are more expensive, but it's more of a just throw it in your printer, and now you don't have to think about what you're running through it. You want to run carbon fiber, you can run carbon fiber. You want to run PLA, you can run PLA. You want to run glow in the dark, throw anything at it. It's going to be fine. You know, that's just my thing. You know, the steels are great if you're on a budget. Don't get me wrong. The steels serve their purpose, which is I need to print abrasives and I don't want to spend $15 on a nozzle. The Easy Flows are, I just want to put a nozzle in there and not have to think about what I'm running through it. So I have the Easy Flow on quite a bit of my machines in here. Our print farm, we have a couple Easy Flows out there, but we run brass because brass is cheap and it works, and we don't print abrasives out there. Whereas in here, I'm running different materials than just printing PLA all the time or just ABS all the time. So I want to just not have to think about, okay, which one has the plated nozzle in it? Most of mine do. So, yeah, I mean, I've actually had to drop my print temperatures by about 10°C when I have the copper nozzle in there, because it does transfer too quickly almost, and it will actually overheat the filament. So if you are running a copper nozzle and you're getting weird print results, drop the temperature a little bit, because they are actually that efficient at transferring heat, even on a stock hot end. So, but we do carry the Easy Flows in the MK8 size, which is what the Creality hot ends use. Basically all the Creality hot ends except for the CRX and the CR10S Pro. The CRX has its own proprietary nozzle, and the CR10S Pro has a 6mm size nozzle, but it's a different thread pitch from all the other ones. Why Creality did that, I have no idea. But they're like one of the only printers that uses that thread pitch, and we don't even sell those nozzles because they're just not super popular. The CR10S Pro, I think, is a good machine. But that was really annoying when I found that out. I was like, you got to be kidding me. Like, you guys intentionally went with a different thread just so people are locked into buying Creality nozzles. Like, yeah, but I think Micro Swiss makes nozzles for the CR10S Pro. They were able to replicate and copy or whatever the thread size or clone it, whatever you want to call it. I don't know if it's a proprietary thread. All I know is it's not a standard M6 thread, which is what the V6 uses, which is what the MK8 uses, the Volcano. So, but yeah, I mean, if you're looking for a copper-plated nozzle, our pricing is very competitive. They're very well machined. They're very good nozzles, and the plating also helps keep that nozzle cleaner. So if you get stuff on there, it's way easier to clean off than a brass or a steel because it's got that nice plating on there. And it's almost like, I don't want to call it like anti-stick or non-stick, but it does make stuff harder to get stuck to it. I have a lot easier time cleaning off the plated nozzles versus standard brass or steel. So Pav TV says, I bought a deeply discounted CR10S Pro V2 through Walmart. Anything I should watch out for? I don't think Walmart's an actual Creality reseller, so you might want to check and see who the seller was, because I think Walmart allows third-party sellers. Make sure you don't get scammed, because this is very common in this industry. I've seen it happen multiple times where there's like a printer, it's like, oh man, $100 for a CR10, and it ends up being a fraud. So just be very careful. That I've seen dozens of those kind of scams pop up. So they'll even put fake tracking numbers. Like, I remember there was a I don't remember what printer it was. It doesn't really matter what printer it was. There's a printer. Someone posted a link. It's like, look at this printer's like $85 and they're usually 170. And a bunch of people bought them. I ordered a couple, just said, screw it. And they ended up being fake. They had a fake tracking number. And they never showed up. So I had to go through and do a chargeback and everything. The seller never responded because they were frauds. So just be careful. If it's like super deeply discounted, I would honestly be a little concerned, especially since if it's a third party, because I don't believe Walmart themselves sells 3D printers. I could be wrong because I haven't gone shopping on Walmart for 3D printers in a while, but I do believe they allow third-party sellers on this. So just be careful. There's too many people out there doing fraud these days. It's nuts. It's disgusting. So, make sure if you guys get those scam calls that you make fun of them and keep them on the phone for as long as you can, because the more time they spend bullshitting with you, the less time they have to scam other people. So, whether it's I get the social security number has been suspended ones. I got an extended car warranty yesterday for the first time. I've got Apple support and Amazon support. Microsoft tech support, and they want the Google Play cards. Like, okay, yes, Apple support wants to get paid in Google Play cards. Oy vey. Anyways, what's the next question there? We kind of went off on a tangent. Justin Abel is asking, can you run 2 Neopixel strips on the EasyBoard V1.2? Yeah, the regulator would have enough oomph, because that's a 3 amp output on there. You'd be fine on that. The only thing is because you can't chain, like, there's no other plug here. I should have thought about this. If people want to do multiple ones, is having like a pass-through on here. But what you could actually do is, if you wire the 5-volt signal and ground in parallel at the board side, when you send a command to turn on like the first light, it'll actually do the same thing on both strips. So this is, I don't know, not many people know about the Neopixel. So if you have, like, I have a couple sitting here. So these are just little 3-pin adapters I made for the speaker light project, but it'll illustrate. So if you actually splice them together, so you've got one here, you've got your your ground, your signal, and your 5-volt on the cable that actually comes with these. These are not the cables that come with these strips. These are ones I made because I wanted shorter ones. So if you connect the grounds together, so you got your grounds, if you connect these together and the reds together, which is your 5-volt, and you connect the signals together, you don't even have to tell the firmware that you have 2 strips, because when it tells this light to light up, both of them are going to light up. When it tells this light to light up, both of them are going to light up. So it addresses them in parallel. So the main thing you got to make sure is that you're staying within the current limitations of whatever your 5-volt power adapter is. Because if these are on full brightness, the average is about 0.9 amps of draw at 5 volts, and they can peak up to 1 amp. So, but if you're using the Easy board with the Easy Neo adapter, that is a 3 amp regulator. So, but yeah, in general, and this works with all Neopixel stuff, not just our strips. But if you have two, like let's say you have these like mounted somewhere and you want them to do the same exact thing, you just connect their signal lines in parallel, and when you address pixel one on both strips will light up, and same thing for 2, 3, 4, etc. So yes, you can do them in parallel. So, but they will require you to splice. So if you have got two Easy Neo kits, you just cut the end off one, cut the other one, and splice it, and then boom, you're good. So, but yeah. Let's see here. What's the next question? I need to keep up with the maw. I feel like I fought off the yawns. I'm sorry if you guys can hear that. Oh, Matt, I appreciate your comment. He said, TH3's easy full copper nozzles are great. Best nozzle in that price range. I'm glad you think that. I really am. I'm a fan of them, but I'm biased. So, let's see. Okay, there we go. We're back at, just answered Justin's about the Neopixel strips. I'll actually show, when I do the stream of these, I'll actually show, I'll tack the leads together and just show that they do work in parallel. So... but yeah, Neopixels are fun. I love Neopixels. So, let's see. Walker Wally. Oh, wait, no. Key Deal is the next one. Then Walker Wally. Walker Wally, or not Walker Wally, sorry. Key Deal is having issues. He said, I'm having this problem with the firmware. Hang on, open original. I got to open these up in a browser. Let's see. It moves too much Z-axis on the second print. Okay, so I believe I know what this is because I've seen this before. Sometimes Marlin's, what's the word I'm looking for? There is the Z-fade. Sometimes Z-fade gets weird, which is why I'm not a big fan of Z-fade. I might actually disable it again in the firmware. Because it does stuff like this. So I'm assuming you have an auto bed leveling system, because this affects whether you're using Easy ABL or BL Touch. But normally Z-fade is set to the first, usually most people use 10 millimeters if using our starting code. I believe we have it set to 10, or I've told people to set it to 10. You can, either way, you can check your thing. But when Z-fade messes up, this is what it does. And what Z-fade does is it turns off the compensation, the auto bed leveling compensation, tries to fade it out over however many millimeters that you tell it. So, but sometimes it gets weird and it interprets things incorrectly, and this is what you get. So I don't know. I'm gonna look and see. Hopefully you're still in the chat. I'm gonna ping you on Discord here. Just check stream. Yeah, let me know if that is. I'm getting ready to do another. I'm getting ready to do another firmware update to add the action host commands, or the action commands in, because Octoprint started complaining about that if it's disabled. So I was just going to enable it by default. I already tested on the compiles and it fits. So key deal, are you using an auto bed leveling system on your printer? And are you using Z-fade? Because if it is Z-fade, it's really easy to check if that's the problem without even disabling it at the firmware level. Like, let me show you an example. So, like, I have my starting code here. You can see I do have Z-fade set to 10, M420Z10. So, what you could do is change your starting code to have M420Z0 after your G28 and G29. But there was another person I saw just last week that had the same issue, and it ended up being Z-fade. And I've had this happen. I haven't happened in a long time, but I have had this happen with Z-Fade, which is one of the reasons I've gone back and forth. Oh, it's on in this build, it's off in this build. And I think I'm just going to leave it off permanently. And if somebody wants to use Z-Fade, then what's it called? Then they can turn it on in the firmware themselves. I mean, we provide the source code, so you can do whatever you want with it. And we have 69 people watching. Anyways, yeah, I think it's a Z-Fade. Now, if you go to your LCD, this one does not have ABL on it. I don't have one in screen that has ABL. I don't have any boards floating around on my desk either. So yeah, I would double check and see if it's a Z-Fade. You should be able to, from the LCD menu, what's it called? Let me go look. I gotta turn one of mine on. Let me see here. Where's my Ender 6? Here's my Ender 6. I'll log in and turn that on. Because I believe you can just set the setting in, or what's called, on the LCD as well, instead of adjusting your start code. So you could just print the same file again after it's done doing its auto bed leveling routine. So the G29, and it's actually starting the print. You can then change the Z-Fade there. I see Scott's watching again. Maybe he would probably know more. He said he usually uses 2mm or 10 layers. So, see, the thing is, and this is what's weird. I found that when I use smaller numbers with Z-Fade, I would get way too much correction in too little of space. But then you have this where there's too much overcorrection to fade it off in a higher number of space. So, hang on. Sorry, the dogs were losing their collective minds. All right, my printer is on. Let's see, and I believe this one should have it on M420. Let's see. Yeah, let me go take a look at it. I think this one should have a firmware that's got Z-Fade on. Yes, it is under the motion setting. So if you click your LCD menu, you go to motion, there is the fade option. So try turning that off and see if that goes away. If it does, that's the issue. If you want to keep Z fade on, try Scott's recommendation of 2. So I'm actually gonna have to let me test that here. So I've got my Ender 6 here. Let's just do a quick although I'm not having that particular issue, but let's just double check. Am I running Z-Fade on my... am I running it on my Ender 6? We'll find out. Let's see. Or do I have it disabled? It's 0. So let's see. I know this one has quite a bit of compensation going on, so let's go ahead and just start this going. Let's do some science here. I think I set it 10. Did I set it to 10? Yeah, M420Z10. All right. So that'll set my Z fade. Here's my Ender 6. Let's go ahead and preheat that sucker. We're nice and clear. So let's go ahead and that looks good. Probably do a little less infill. Let's do like 5%, just do more top layers. All right. Go ahead and save that. Cali Dog already exists. Shocker! Shocker, I've already printed Cali Dog. All right, let's see. Man, Arc Welder did not change much. All right, so let's we'll let that go and we'll see. And then I'm also going to slice one with Z2. Do some quick science. These don't take too long to print. So Z, I'm just call it Z2 Cali Dog. And I'm going to go in here and we're going to do Z0. You know, like I said, I don't know if this will help at all, but yeah, when I've seen that issue where it's like stretched over that, it's usually due to Z fade. So I'm going to go ahead and upload those, and then we will print those later. But this is going to start the print. So let's get back to the stream here. All right. Yeah, Scott, check that out and see. Oh, that's a good thing with Z-Hop. I don't use Z-Hop. Are you using Z-Hop, Kido? Ooh, because that... having Z-Hop on with Z-Fade would probably cause problems, wouldn't it? Because the firmware is not smart enough to know that it's doing... it's going to move up and then down. I don't use Z-Hop on, I don't think, any of my machines. Huh. Okay. The plot thickens. But yeah. So ZDL, disable Z-Fade and see if it works with Z-Fade off. If it does, there's your issue. So Z-Hop works with Z-Fade. Yeah, I haven't used Z-Hop in ages. I can't remember the last time I used Z-Hop. So that, just when you said that, Scott, about Z-Hop, I could see how that could cause problems because it's going up and then down, and it's probably going up and then down at different points. So is the compensation going to take that into account? Because, like, let's say it's at, like, your Z fade's at 2 and your Z lift is at 3 and it goes up and then comes back down. Is it smart enough to know that we went back down and we should still continue the compensation, or is it actually going to turn it off? Yeah, interesting. So, anyways, what's the next one? My Ender 6 is starting the doggo print. SKL just retracted a message. I was literally looking at it and it went away. I don't even remember what it said. Let's see. All right. We were talking about... We're actually answering Keydale's question. So, all right. Walker Wally was next. So, he said he got his first real coax PLA. I haven't used it yet, but I note on the box it says to print at 215 to 235. Usually print at 200. But do you find coax is better at a higher temp? Absolutely. I would recommend starting out coax at 220. I regularly print my coax at 230. I have noticed, and this is not just exclusive to coax, but most U.S. brands of plastic I've noticed require higher temperatures. Now, I don't know if it's because they're more pure, you know, and the other brands, like the overseas brands, like the stuff out of China and stuff, have like more additives or, you know, stuff to thin it out. You know, like HIPS, like I know some companies mix HIPS in with their PLA to kind of thin it out a little bit, because HIPS has a similar melting point and similar-ish properties. But in general, like Atomic, Printed Solid, coax, like all those filaments I've noticed, and even when Maker Geeks was around, if anybody of you guys have been around long enough to remember that fiasco, all those filament brands I found all like higher temps. So yeah, I'd recommend starting out like at 220 for coax. So especially if you got a copper nozzle, 220 should be pretty good. Carol's asking about making a CR10S quieter. So the only board we have that work in a CR10S right now would be the 427 Creality board, as long as you have a MOSFET for the bed. Otherwise, if you want something from us, you have to wait for the Easy Board 2 to come out, which should be close to the end of this. Well, not the end of this month. We're at the 20th. I was thinking of the old ETAs. It's going to be towards the end of September by the time we get everything tested and we get the production done. And that does come with tech support and a 6-month warranty and everything. So, but yeah, if you're impatient, the Creality 427 is a good budget board. We do sell them. I've been very happy with them for the price point. They don't have as many features as our board will, but you know, if you just want something quieter and you're not doing a ton of crazy mods and stuff, you don't need a bunch of extra headers and stuff. The 427 board is a decent board. You know, my biggest complaint with it is the manual adjustment of your VREFs for your steppers. Like the EasyBoard 1 and our EasyBoard 2, you can do that all digitally through the LCD screen or G-code commands. The other board, you have to do that manually. But that's not something you're going to be changing very often. So that's why I'm like kind of like, it's annoying, but you're not messing with it that often. So, and that's because their drivers, their Trinamic drivers on those boards are running standalone mode instead of UART mode, meaning they're just kind of, they're running by themselves, hence standalone mode. But they are quieter. So the only drawback is if you do want to start playing with Linear Advance does not work well with them. Because they're in standalone mode, you need to have 2208s or 2225s in UART mode to use Linear Advance reliably. But if you're just an average user and just want something quieter, it's not a bad buy. It's also a hell of a lot cheaper than our board will be. So, yeah. Let's see. Perry is asking, what does the EasyBoard do? It's a drop-in replacement board for a lot of Creality printers and Solval printers. You can also use them in DIY builds if you want. We have firmware for those. But basically, it's a high-quality replacement board for your Creality or Solval machine. We had the first version was the EasyBoard Lite V1. That's been discontinued because we can't get processors for them anymore, but we're working on it too. So it's just a control board that we make. It's 32-bit. It's got Trinamic drivers. And all the good stuff. And the new EasyBoard 2 is going to have some more headers and stuff for you guys that like to add stuff on. So, but we actually posted an update on that a couple days ago. If you go to our site and click news, you should be able to see that. So, let's see. Mike V is asking, he says, does a USB power adapter work on a USB fan when the printer is turned off connected to a Pi? I don't know what you mean by that. The USB power adapter on a USB fan when the printer is turned off connected to a Pi. Yeah, I have to post it again. I don't know what you mean by that. I see another comment. He says, trying to have the fan enclosure fan connected and have it turn off when the printer is off. The easiest way would be to just pull from your printer power. Because most of your fans are going to be DC. If it's an AC fan, get a Wi-Fi outlet like our Easy Plug, plug the printer into it, plug the fan into it, just get like a little, you know, they make like little power strips, got like 3 outlets on them, they're about this long. You can plug that into the Easy Plug and then plug a fan and the printer into it. If it's a DC fan, then just run it right off your printer power supply and then it'll shut off with the printer. So, but if you have a Pi that's always on, the USB ports will be on all the time providing power. So if that's what you're asking, the answer is no, it will not shut off. So, yeah, we'll talk about the Z-Fade stuff a little bit. That's already about 18% done with that first print. So we'll see if it comes out weird. But I don't think it's going to, because of the fact that I have been using Z-Fade on that set to 10 and it's been fine. So, all right, where are we at with the questions? Gregory is asking, he's got an SKR Mini with a BL Touch. Are there any issues when compiling BL Touch and sensorless homing? There shouldn't be, but do not use sensorless homing on your Z. Sensorless homing with a Z is not a good idea. Use your BL Touch to home. SKL's asking about Unified 2 on SKR E3 Mini 2 on Ender 5 Plus with a 128/64 LCD versus the Ender 5 Pro firmware. You're going to have to modify it to Home 2 Max. You're going to have to change the bed size, and you're probably going to need to mess with the pins to basically make it think it has X Max pins and then undefine or -1 the you might not need to change the pins. It really depends on how their pins file is written. But basically, you're going to home to max on X and Y, which the Ender 5 already does. So I would say change the bed size and see how it works, because the LCD should work fine. Like if you're using a Creality LCD, that should just work. If you're using like a rep style LCD, you'll need an adapter like our Creality dual board LCD adapter. Not the one for the CR20, but the standard one. You can use that with a rep screen to adapt it to work with like a Creality board or an SKR board or like our Easy board. We usually came out with it for the Easy board, but because the pinout's the same on the headers between our board and the Creality boards and the SKR E3 mini boards, those adapters also work. So, all right, let's see. JDCCC26 says, does anybody have the RT for HTC NTC 100K thermistor? What do you mean by RT? Someone's going to say what that abbreviation means and I'm going to understand it, but I'm blanking right now. Local Maker says, I got a CR10 V2 with easy avail unified firmware. User started code after I started printing homes, and then it runs the extruder into the X motor, overshooting the limit switch. Sounds like you might be running an older version of the firmware. There was a bug with the, and it affected those 2560 boards with the end stop interrupts that's been patched. I believe, I don't have the release notes, but I believe it is a, I believe 232 was the update that patched that. It might have been 231. It was relatively recent. Basically what was happening is if you told the printer to home, sometimes it just wouldn't move. So normally when you tell a printer to home, it'll home X, so it'll touch off on the end stop, home Y, touch off on the end stop, and if you have an ABL probe, it'll go into the center, and then home Z with that. With that end stop interrupts feature on, sometimes it wasn't actually physically moving. It would think it's at the position, but it never actually told the steppers to move. So that was fixed. Perry's asking about the Easy board and the Ender 6 and the TFT color screens. No and no. The Ender 6 can be made to work with the Easy board. The thing is, you're not going to have access to the SD, and we're not going to support the D-Win screens because of their firmware on them. I do know someone in our Discord server who is using an Easy board on Ender 6, but he is not using the stock screen. He's got the Creality screen in it. But he also then did the custom firmware. I don't think we're going to officially ever support the Ender 6 with the Easy board, just because the SD slot's not going to be accessible, because the stock board has a ribbon cable extension, and it's not like the extension just plugs into a regular slot. It's actually a pin plug that goes into the board. So, and obviously we can't plug that into the Easy board. Yeah, so basically, unless you want to do a lot, the answer is unless you want to do a lot of work and change the screen, no, the Easy board 2 will not have official support for the Ender 6. I do not have it planned. So you got to remember, in general, any printer board can go into any printer. It's just how much wiring changes you're going to have to make and what firmware changes. So, you know, in general, you can put any board in any printer. Like I can take, you know, this MKS board and throw it in that printer. I just got to know how to set the firmware up and what to connect where. Same thing goes with any other boards. Like I can put one of Creality's old 8-bit boards in the Ender 6 and make it work. You know, the thing is how much time are you willing to put into it to make it work. You know, the goal of the Easy board, even though it's a really high quality board, the goal of the Easy board is you want a faster board, you want a better quality board, and you want something that's easy to use. That was the target for the Easy board, is something that's high quality and you don't have to spend hours screwing with firmware to get it working, because we've done all that setup for you. So, you know, I do have one of our V1 Easy boards in a custom built machine here. It works great, you know, but it's not that refined of a process because it's, you're now then doing code yourself. So High Body's asking 2225 or 2226 for linear advance. Oh no, the odds are back. Sorry, there we go. trying to get my... You guys ever have your ears like the eardrum pops? It drives me nuts. Yeah, all right. So Hybotic says TMC 2225 or 2226 for linear advance. 2226s are basically 2209s repackaged, and as far as I know, the 2209s do work correctly with linear advance. The 2225s are basically 2208s in a different package, so those will have issues with linear advance. Dimitri K, where can I find dimensions for 12864 screen? Depends on what screen you're looking for. If you're looking for a Creality one, well, actually either one, the RepRap style or the Creality ones, there are multiple models on Thingiverse where people have made the actual model that's very accurate to put it into your design software. We actually have in our Fusion, we have models that we made for when we're designing housing, so we literally took the screens and measured them and remade them in Fusion. So that would be one option. Is physically make your own. Well, not physically, but make your own design based off of the physical screen in your design software, or see if somebody already made one on Thingiverse. And I know those screens are on Thingiverse, so. But the only thing is, remember, the reason we redesign the screens to have models in our software is because I do not trust the community ones, because I can't tell you how many times I've downloaded like a community-made model of a part, and things were wrong on it. So I had to go back and redesign the part I made because the original part I was modeling it around was not designed correctly. So, yeah. I'd highly recommend just make your own. It doesn't have to be exact. Just get the rough dimensions. Like you don't have to have every little feature. You don't have to have all the little chips, but just get the dimensions of the screws and the PCB and where the LCD sticks through. Oh, I'm sorry about the yawning. Spotted asked about coax, PLA, and PET G. PLA, I run anywhere from like 220 to 230, and their PET G, I was running about 235 to 240. So I was running on this printer at like 235, which is the Chiron. Seemed to print just fine there. But they're in general, their PLAs like to run hotter. So keep that in mind. All right, let's keep going. I'm sorry that apparently I'm dragging ass today. Let's see. Kevin says he's having an issue with the universal 5-volt adapter. I'm getting 23.5 to 24.1 volts from the step-down board. Either you wired it wrong or you have a defective board. Contact our support. One of the two things. So, because if you cut the wires and you forgot which side is which, if you flip it, it will feed power through, but it's not going to be fed through correctly. So yeah, either it's bad or you wired something up wrong. Either way, just contact our support and send them pictures, and they can let you know if it is wired up wrong or not. Either way, they can get you straightened out. Let's see. Oh, but sorry, there is no adjustment on those. Those are a preset output with a resistor. So it's got like a reference resistor, and that is set to the value that will cause the chip to deliver 5 volts. So if it could just be a bad one. I mean, stuff breaks. Those we buy in bulk, and those don't get pre-tested. I bought about 200 of them. I pulled about 20 of them out. I hooked them all up, and they all tested good. So I was like, well, it's a cheap enough part where if we do get one that's bad, we'll just send out a replacement. So, to sit there and open every single one and hook every single one up and test them, that would easily double the cost, because now I have to pay somebody to do that. So, but yeah, anyways, let's see. Mamadou says he is using the power loss resume, and the new print moves about 1 millimeter left on the x-axis. What do you think the cause is? That power loss recovery just isn't something you should rely on because of stuff like that. it's never going to perfectly resume. So I would not rely on it. Get yourself a battery backup, put your printer on a battery backup, and use that. I can't tell you how many prints having a battery backup save. Like we get power flashes here at least once a week. And I know we have not lost a print due to power failure because of the UPSs in years. So yeah, the power loss recovery is not that great, especially if you have something, you have an Ender 3 Pro, but I don't know what board you have, but especially if you have something with sensorless homing, that can even add more variance into where it actually resumes at. So, let's see. There's like comments in here. I'm looking for questions here. I'm almost caught up, which is good because we're almost at the end of the stream anyway. So, but Kevin, I'll post. I'll look up and see. Did you send pictures in on your ticket? I'm typing in. Hopefully your name is the same. Is your name the same as in our thing? I think so. I think I found it. Your email begins with EUP. Is that it? Anyways, Mike V. I was trying to download the knob from Makerform. It says not allowed. Yes, you have to be registered to download files from there. I'm evil like that. You have to make an account. You have to make an account. Trying to get people on there. I don't want a bunch of people free leeching like files off the site. I want people to actually use the site. If you go to the main page or like the home page, it will tell you that yes, it will not. All right, so Bardicus says I'm printing having some lift issues printing a new PEI sheet under 5 plus will print ABS. He's printed 235C, 95C on the bed. So my first question is, do you have an enclosure? If you don't have an enclosure, you need to get one. I have an enclosure from 3D Upfitters. I'm not affiliated with them. I literally paid full price. Their enclosure does work well for ABS from the Under 5 Plus. So 1, you need an enclosure. 2, up your bed temp to 100C. 100C is what I print on all of our printers. That 5C does make an extra difference. And 3, sorry, can't count today apparently. 3, Vision Miner is usually what you're going to need to use with PEI. PEI works really well for PLA, but I found that ABS, especially with larger parts, will still pull up. My bottle's all the way over there. It's right there. In our print farm, we use Vision Miner on the EasyFlex PEI sheets. So, like I said, I don't want my parts lifting ever. Smaller stuff you can usually get away with, no extra adhesion on a PEI plate. But if you're doing ABS, you usually should have something on there like Vision Miner. That's what we use. It just works. So, no enclosure. It's ABS plus, not straight ABS. No, you still need an enclosure. If it's got ABS in it, you're gonna need an enclosure. So that's just further compounding the issue. I haven't heard of ABS plus. Here's the thing, and I talked about this with the guys over the Coax, is there are no standards with naming for anything. Like I could have my own filament company and I could call my bottom of the barrel filament PLA plus, but there's other companies making PLA plus. And, just for example, like eSun's PLA plus is good filament, but it's not as good as Coax's entry-level filament because the resins they use are completely different. Coax uses higher quality resins, even in their base stuff, than eSun does with their higher end stuff. So it's like, how do you cross compare all this stuff? Like it's all, there's the actual material type, PLA, ABS, that's standardized. But all these additional modifiers on the name, like plus or pro or whatever, they're all bullshit. And they just are whatever the manufacturer decides to call it. I don't know if I should call them bullshit, but they are not something you can easily compare between lines. Like Coax has their PLA and they also have their PLA Prime. PLA Prime uses a higher quality resin. Now they say this. eSun has their regular eSun and their eSun PLA and their PLA Plus. And the PLA Plus is supposed to be a better quality filament. But the whole thing is There is no standardization for all these names, and it bugs the shit out of me. And I don't know if we could ever get any standardization aside from the base material, which is, you know, PLA, PETG, ABS. Yeah, that we just went on a rant there. I guess I got triggered. Yeah. The bottom line is if something has ABS in it, I don't care what their marketing materials say, you're going to need to have an enclosure. The only way you're not is if it's like really, really little or ABS and the rest is like PLA or PETG or something else that doesn't warp as much. But if it's at least half ABS, it's going to warp because ABS likes to warp. It's just the nature of that material. Yeah, that's how it is. So, let's see. Neogriff's asking about making a custom boot image for the Ender 3 V2 stock screen. What size I have to shoot for? I don't know, but if you look at the firmware download for the screen, there should be images in the folder if you poke around, and you can look at the resolution of that image, and that will give you what you need to be. I do believe, if I recall correctly, it has to be a specific format. I can't remember if it's like a bitmap or a ping, but I remember I had to set it to a specific color depth to actually get it to display correctly. So use the existing file in there. So if you download Unified 2 for the Ender 3 V2, there is a folder in there for the LCD firmware, and if you dig into those folders, you will see files, and there's one of those that has our logo with Marlin on it. Just use that as kind of like a starting point. So there's really no documentation on there. I just figured that out by looking at the files from the stock firmware. All right. Well, I think this is a good Brian Vine. So theoretically, it could be PLA plus factory floor sweepings. Yes. Oh dear God. But it is treat time. I'm gonna wrap this up. I'm gonna go check in with the wife, and I am going to fire up another stream later, and I'm gonna make some lighting with random parts I have laying around for my my speakers and my little home theater setup. So, all right, Remo, you set? Can we shake? Gotta get in my hand. Let's try it. Shake. Good boy. Touch. Sit. There you go. Good doggo. Felix, I don't know how I missed your questions. I'm sorry. Let me answer this and we'll wrap this up. Felix says, how practical have you guys found larger print beds to be from your experience? I'm looking at my first printer. My girlfriend wants to split costs as long as she can print vases and stuff. Would I be sacrificing print quality, or are there any other potential negatives I should know of except for them taking up more size? So those are good questions, because in my opinion, I think you should get the printer that is going to cover the largest size prints you're going to make, because there are drawbacks, especially with bed flingers. Okay. If you're going to go with a bigger printer, I would have to recommend the Ender 5 Plus. If we're talking Chinese machines, you know, we're talking cheaper stuff, Ender 5 Plus. That's a 350 by 350 by 400. Someone correct me. I feel like it might be taller than that. What's the build volume on the Ender 5 Plus? Yeah, 350 by 350 by 400. I like the Ender 5 Plus a lot. I really do. I think it's a solid printer, because it's not too big, but it's also not too small. So you can do some big stuff, but it also doesn't fling the bed. Now, I have plenty of bed flingers, but the reality is when you start getting up to this size, this is a lot of bed to fling around. You know, even a CR10 has a lot of bed to fling around. Ender 3, that size, don't really care if it's a bed flinger. But this is a lot of bed to move around, and yes, you will have to print slower to get better print quality compared, you know, if I was printing the same model on Ender 5, or not Ender 5, Ender 3, versus here, if I run the print at the same exact same exact speeds and everything, the Ender 3 is probably going to look better because it's got a smaller bed. It's not flinging around this massive bed. And that's just physics. So, yeah, if you have to get a bigger machine and you don't want a bed flinger, the Ender 5 Plus would probably be my recommendation. If a 300 by 300 by 400 is in the size range, the CR10 is still a great option. There's so many versions of the CR10. I'm going to be old school. I really like the CR10S still. The CR10 V2 is a good machine. The CR10 V3 is a good machine. The only downside is Creality went with yet another board revision. So if that board dies, you're either going to have to get another OEM board or you're going to have to custom swap it out. That's my main gripe about the V2 and the V3. I think they got a lot right on the V2 and the V3. The filament sensor, the metal extruder, the 5015 cooling fan. But then they, instead of using the same board that they've been using in all their printers, they decided, let's make a whole new different board. So now all the boards that support all our other printers, like our Easy board or even Big Tree Tech's boards or even Creality's own boards, they don't fit in there. So if that board dies, you're either going to do a conversion to go to a different board, which means you're printing parts and dremeling out the case, or you're buying another OEM board. Now, the OEM board's fine. It gets the job done, but it's just something I want to mention. And that's the reason I would take a CR10S over a CR10 V2 or V3 is because the CR10S has a lot more board options that don't involve completely overhauling the machine. But as the machine sits stock or with minimal modifications like, bed leveling and a flex plate, the Ender 3V, or not the Ender 3V2, the CR10 V2 and the CR10 V3 are good machines, and they do offer better print quality out of the box than the CR10S. So it's all trade-offs. But, the Ender 5 Plus is not a perfect machine. The early models had PSU issues. What was it? There was one other gripe I had about it. The lack of cable management on the hot end stock. I can't tell you how many times before I put a little thing to hold the wire loom that goes to the hot end, how many times it sagged over and would hit my end stops. And if I wasn't paying attention, it would think it homed, but it was really only halfway down because the tube hit the end stop and homed with that. So when it went to go home the Z, it put the head all the way too far to the right and it just ground it. But aside from the early power supply issues, the new ones are shipping with Meanwells, which is great. I don't really have any major complaints about the 5 Plus. So, and it's not a bed flinger. It's not a Core XY. It's still a Cartesian machine, but, I think it's a good machine. So, Ender 5 Plus now or wait for next gen. I would just get it now. Here's the thing. All these printer companies and Towns 3D was spot on about this. I'm surprised he saw it because he got so much flack for it, but I agree with him. All these printer companies are just making little changes and putting out new models. So if you can get an older model for cheaper, go with the older model. There's usually more community-made mods. There's usually more upgrades out for them. Like us, we have a ton of upgrades out for these printers already. They're well known. The issues at this point, if they do have issues, are well known and usually are documented so you can fix them. I wouldn't get overly caught up in buying the latest printer model. I would buy another. If I had the need for another 5 Plus size printer, I would buy another 5 Plus. I do like that machine. So, do the CR10 / Ender sling less than a Sidewinder or Soval SVO3? No, they're about the same. Their beds are about the same weight. The SVO3 was a good machine. I like Soval's printers. Basically, Soval, I don't think they're owned by Creality, but Creality makes a lot of stuff for them. But Soval makes great machines too. The SVO1, I forgot about the SVO1. The SVO1, everybody forgets about the SVO1. The SVO1 is actually probably one of my favorite machines in the $400 to $300 range because it's dual Z stock, it's direct drive stock. It's got a bigger build volume than the Enders by a little bit, and it's got a filament sensor. It's got a Creality 2560 board in it, which is still an 8-bit board, but it's the one with more memory. It doesn't have a touch screen, and it's built well, and it's got a Meanwell power supply. Yeah, I really like the SVO1. We have 2 of them here. That's another good machine, and that is a bed flinger, but it's, what is the build? It's 255 by 300, and 300 on the height, so it's bigger than an Ender 3. It's built a little better than the Ender 3, but it also has a lot of crossover with parts, like boards that fit in the Ender 3 also work with the Soval SVO1. You know, so like our Easy board fits in there. The SKR E3 mini series fits in there. The Creality 427 board fits in there. Yeah, I actually really like the SVO ones. I always forget about them, and I feel bad because I do think they make really good printers. I think Soval makes pretty good printers. And they also don't seem to be doing what Creality does, which is let's release a new printer every 6 months and create a whole new, instead of taking our one model and fixing it and making it better, we're just going to take a whole new model and fix other things and then create all new problems. Like, I feel like Soval is taking the time to, they have, I think, 4 models out. They have the SVO 1, 2, 3, and the 4. And the 4, I think, is their IDEX, and the 2 is their dual color one. I have the 1, 2, and 3. I've used the 1 and 3. I like the 1 and 3. The 2 is still sitting in the box. Yeah, I don't just like Creality printers. I talk about them a lot because they are the most popular. I do have a lot of Creality printers, but Soval makes good stuff. Anycubic makes good printers. You know, I feel like Anycubic is a step above Creality and Soval. Their printers do cost a little bit more, but I feel like their QC is a little bit better because I have yet to have an Anycubic printer, including a DIY Castle kit that I built years ago, have defective stuff out of the box. I also have a lot of their resin printers, and all their resin printers worked out of the box. So I have yet to have a single Anycubic machine that had an issue out of the box. And that's really unheard of. So, and I have quite a few of them. Creality, on the other hand, I've had plenty of printers with issues out of the box. So, yeah, Soval's good. Anycubic's good. You're going to pay a little bit more, but I feel like you are actually getting more money or more value for your money because they do seem to do a better QC. I could have just got lucky, but I feel like Anycubic does have better QC than Creality. So, yeah, Creality's getting better, but they're not perfect. I could complain about all the things Creality does business-wise, especially their naming conventions. Their naming conventions are an absolute nightmare. I know why they do it. Like, they do it for the keywords and the SEO, but it confuses the shit out of customers. When you have the CR10, the CR10S, the CR10 Mini, the CR10S Mini, the CR10 S4, the CR10S S4, the CR10 S5, the CR10 SS5, the CR10 V2, the CR10 V3, CR10 Smart, the CR10S Pro, the CR10S Pro V2, the CR10S Max. Am I forgetting any of them? Or did I cover all of them? I feel like I'm forgetting them. I feel like I'm forgetting one of them. Like, stop using the fucking name CR10. Like, call it a CR11. Just stop. Stop using the model number CR10. You're confusing the shit out of your customers. It drives me nuts. I hate it. It's a huge... It annoys the shit out of me. And they do the same thing. So they have the Ender 3, the Ender 3 V2, the Ender 3 Pro, the Ender 3 Max. Just call them a different model. I am triggered right now. I am triggered like an end stop with a carriage rammed up against it. Anyways, we're over time. You guys baited me into doing a longer stream. So I'm gonna pound the rest of this maw, and then I'll be back in about an hour. Keep an eye out. I'm gonna do a stream. This is just me puttering around, so you guys can see what I like to do in my free time, because I'm a sad nerd that would rather play with electronics than socialize. Oh god. So, anyways, it was fun hanging out with you guys. Yeah, catch me on our Discord server. Make sure you guys check out makerforum.tech. Like I said, I would love to see that get traction. You can share STL files. You can share your printer profiles. I would love it if you guys could post your printer profiles, your slicer profiles. I put mine up there, and I'm the only person that has posted my slicer profiles so far. So come on, get some slicer profiles printed. This one print did finish. Okay, so this is with Z10. I don't see any issues. It looks fine. Let's see if I can write this on here. I'm gonna print the other ones. So, can I still see this? I think I just barely make out the markers. Z10. 10. Right, can you guys see that? Z10. There we go. Close enough. I'm going to print the 2. And I think by the time I get the 2 done, I'll be back on. We're just going to hang... Oh, I'm like burping. Just going to do like a hangout stream. Appreciate everybody that stopped by. If you guys have a Chiron, make sure you guys check out our LCD kit. If you guys want to get some awesome merch, go to merch.th3dstudio.com. If you want a hat, we have a few of these hats left in our store, and that's it. I will not be making any more. That's it. So, you guys all have a good one. And I'll see you guys in a little bit. And I'm going to play with some LED lights and some open source firmware. So, I will talk to you guys on the next one. See you later. Have a great weekend. As always, happy printing.
Hi there, Frank George here. As a doctor, I know a thing or two about probing. Indeed I do. I love something that's easy to install, easy to use, and backed by a real support team. And that's why I choose TH3D Easy ABL Kit for my 3D printers. I prefer not to waste countless hours trying to figure out how to connect things to my machine when I could be printing instead. With the TH3D Easy ABL, you get technical support, easy to use firmware, quality parts, amazing accuracy, and there's no moving parts. What are you waiting for? Head over to their site at easyabl.th3dstudio.com and get one today. Thanks for watching, and as always, happy printing. The Easy ABL kit is meant for 3D printer usage only, not for medical or rectal use.